Today I'm going to give away a free t-shirt, bring you a Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown fight, bring you comics news, and reveal the books I bought this week. How y'all doing? I'm Victor, and you are watching the Comic Hero Show. Now kick that intro! Edition of the Comic Hero Show. I'm your host Victor Nunley, and I am the Comic Hero. And I hope y'all enjoyed a happy Easter. I know it kind of stinks having to celebrate Easter when there are a lot of when this country and a lot of other countries throughout the world are on lockdown due to this pandemic. But it's going to be all right. We're going to get through this. And also my thoughts and prayers are with all the people in Monroe, Louisiana, where I used to reside before moving back here. There was a tornado that hit Easter Sunday, and it destroyed, and 300 people lost their houses. And I remember back in 2014, when about a year after I started doing the show, there was a tornado that hit Monroe and West Monroe, and thankfully no lives were lost. Now that's the case with this tornado. No, I mean there were 300 people that lost their houses, but thankfully no lives were lost. And it's a sad situation when the house that you lived in gets destroyed due to a natural cause. And if there's anything that I can do to help all the people in Monroe right now, just say the word no, and I'll help. But you know what? I'm not here to add more fuel to the fire. I'm here to inform you on some stuff. Do a fun show. It kind of stinks right now if you're a comic book fan like me, because I just learned that unfortunately that there's no timetable for any new books to come out, and that's industry wide. It doesn't matter what publisher it is: DC, Marvel, IDW, Boom Studios, Image. It doesn't matter. It's industry wide. And a lot of comic book stores are suffering, and I'm gonna get more into you're getting more in depth with that in the Comically Speaking segment. But for right now, it's time to give away a free t-shirt. Alright, on last week's episode, I asked true or false: the Batman villain Arkham Knight first debuted in the comics. Well, the correct answer is false. The Arkham Knight was originally created to be the main protagonist in the Batman video game entitled, Arkham Knight. And after commercial success, DC decided to make the villain a regular in the comics. And the character made their debut in Detective Comics number 1000, but then had a story arc called Medieval right after that, beginning in 1001. Now the identity of the Arkham Knight is different from the video game that is in the comics. In the video game, the identity was that of the second Robin, Jason Todd. Now, in the comics, the identity of the Arkham Knight is Astrid Arkham, which happens to be Dr. Arkham's daughter. Well, the correct answer is false. 5 people have answered correctly, and because they've answered correctly, your name's been entered in a drawing for a free tee. And that drawing takes place right now. So the winner of the free tee for this week's episode of the show is David Mason from Ruston, Louisiana. So congratulations, David. Winning yourself a free comic hero tee. All right, here's the question for next week's episode, and this is a Marvel question. Besides the Silver Surfer, name at least one Marvel character that served as a former herald of Galactus. Everyone who answers correctly will be entered in a drawing for a free tee on next week's episode of the show. All right, now Keith Adams from West Monroe, Louisiana has requested a Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown fight, and this one features the Dark Knight going up against a very beloved character in the Star Wars universe. Representing DC, we have Batman. And representing Disney, we have the Mandalorian. Had to think about that for a minute. I almost said Marvel because because the Star Wars book is in print for Marvel anyway. These two are gonna duke it out in a segment I like to call
the Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown.
Welcome to the Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown. Today, it's Batman versus the Mandalorian. Batman is an expert detective, master martial artist, and hand-to-hand combatant who possesses peak human condition and utilization of high-tech equipment. The Mandalorian possesses accelerated healing, endurance, enhanced senses, fire resistance, intelligence, reflexes, stamina, stealth, superhuman strength, and is a weapons master. Who will win? The Mandalorian will go stealth in order to get the jump on the Dark Knight. This proves to be unsuccessful when the latter delivers a cheap shot as the former sneaks up on him while still invisible. The Mandalorian then pulls out his gun and attempts to shoot Batman, but the K-Crusader knocks the gun out of his hand and disables it. You're probably wondering how Batman is staying in the fight. I can easily tell you that Batman never enters a fight unprepared. He added enhancements to his suit in order to withstand serious injury from metahumans. Back to the fight. This fight then becomes hand-to-hand combat. The two would deliver and or block punches and kicks for minutes on end. The Mandalorian realizes that this isn't an easy fight, so he gets the child to perform a Jedi mind trick. This proves to be unsuccessful because Batman is trained to discipline himself mentally and physically in combat. After that, they decide to call it off. This fight ends in a draw. And that concludes this fight on the Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown. Thank you, Keith Adams. I hope you enjoyed that fight, and I'll have another one next week. Now it's time for Comically Speaking, so without further ado, let's talk comics! Alright, there are three things we're going to talk about in this segment of Comically Speaking, and the first one is the news that the folks at San Diego Comic-Con, depending on the outcome of the pandemic or how soon it's going to end, have thought about either postponing San Diego Comic-Con or canceling it for the year. Hopefully, the tide will turn and here in the States, and it'll get postponed and not canceled. And I hope that's the same for other cons. I understand that Arkansas Comic-Con is supposed to be this September, and then other cons. This pandemic has really put a damper on a lot of things that we enjoy doing, but it's only temporary. This isn't something this isn't permanent. This isn't something that's going to last. I've said that every week for the past month, and I stand by that, because nothing permanent. Nothing negative is permanent. And I know it just seems like there's no end in sight, but I don't believe that. There's always an end in sight. I mean, if you and I'll go ahead and say this and I'll leave it alone, but if you're a state and you have a stay-at-home order or anything like that, adhere to it. Don't be stupid and go out and think that nothing's going to hurt you, because let me tell you, this virus there have been a lot of folks that have tested positive for this virus, and there have been a lot, and thankfully a lot of them have recovered, but then there are also still a lot of people who have died from it. Don't do it. If you're even if you're not under a stay-at-home order, don't do it. Stay at home, save lives. Now you may think that's not true, but it really is. I'm a witness. I mean, I do it. I really don't go out unless I have to go to work, because I'm an essential worker. So I have to go out, and I go straight to work and straight back. And then also wash your hands, wash your behind, and try not to touch your face. All right. Now the second thing, and this is pretty much a mistake that I made on last week's episode. In last week's episode, I said that new comics, the shipments of new comics were going to be pushed back 2 weeks. I was sadly mistaken. This is an indefinite thing. There's really no timetable of when new books will resume being shipped to the comic book stores, and I wholeheartedly apologize for that. When this news dropped, I saw this first, but then I saw some other news that it was a 2-week delay, and foolishly I chose the lesser of two evils, and I'm very sorry about that, y'all. But in the meantime, until new books come in, support your local comic book stores. A lot of stores are either temporarily closing or have already closed because of this. If you live in the Shreveport, Bossier City area, support Excalibur Comics. If you live in the Sherwood or Jacksonville area, support Kapow Comics. If you live in if you live in Ruston or Grambling or Simsboro or Shudrint, support Southern Realms Comics and Games. If you live in Monroe or West Monroe, it doesn't matter what side of the river. Support both Infinity Comics in West Monroe and Villains Comics in Monroe. If you live in Lafayette or anywhere in the surrounding areas, support Acadiana Comics and Collectibles. I mean, no matter where you live here in the world, whether it's here in the States or abroad, support your local comic book stores. Now, I know it's kind of easier said than done, because a lot of us are always looking for new books to come out, but you know, there's also some great back issues that are there. So you know, think of an old book you want to read, and then you'll go there and buy. And sometimes when you go to comic book stores, you necessarily don't have to buy comics. You know, you could buy board games, you could buy pop bottles, you could buy trading cards, you could buy card games. I mean, or statues or anything like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be comics. Just be sure that your local comic book store gets your business. All right, and the last thing, and this is something on a very light note, but actress Emmanuelle Creaky has been casted as Lana Lang in the upcoming Superman and Lois series that's supposed to star in the CW in the near future. Now, this stars Tyler Hoechlin as Clark Kent and Superman, and Elizabeth Tulloch as Lois Lane. Now, we first learned that this was happening right after the Crisis on Infinite Earths. And we also learned that Superman and Lois don't have not one, but two sons. Now, we already know who one of them is. It's Jonathan Samuel Kent, just like in the comics. But I have a feeling that the other son is probably Connor Kent, which is Superman's clone. Or Superman's part clone. You know, in the comics, Superboy is, or talking about the one that debuted during Reign of Superman back in '93, is the clone of both Superman and Lex Luthor. And but you know, having Lana Lang on there, of course, that was Superman's girlfriend back when we grew up in Smallville, by the way. I like this move, I really do. Now, for those of y'all who are unfamiliar with Emmanuelle Creaky, she also starred in Entourage and then movies like You Don't Mess with the Zohan and Snow Day, and she also played the voice of Chitara on the Thundercat series that debuted in 2011 on Cartoon Network. I really love her body of work. I think she's a great actress, and I think she's really going to do well as Lana Lang. Now, there's really no, you know, with this whole pandemic, there's really no timetable when production is going to begin. And also, even after Crisis on Infinite Earths ended in January, Warner Brothers and DC has been very tight-lipped about who else is going to star in that, or who the other son is going to be. I'm just giving you my personal opinion. But I'm really looking forward to it. Of course, this series is a spin-off from Supergirl. All right, That's it for Comically Speaking. Now let's get to the comics I bought this week.
Comic books I bought this week.
Alright, only one book this week, and that's Incoming. This is a one-shot by Marvel, and it sets the stage for events to come in the Marvel Universe this year. Now, there's a mysterious figure going around, and it's causing havoc throughout the Marvel Universe, and it doesn't matter whether you're good or evil. It's coming. And that's the reason why I have a lot of these Marvel action figures here on the table. This is one of these miniseries that, this one-shot, rather, is something that I kind of had second thoughts about buying at first, but then I learned recently about, it sets the tone for new miniseries for Marvel, so I decided, why not? And, yeah. Alright, with that book, I brings the total number of comics that I bought since December of 1997 to 9,953. Alright, well, I hope you all enjoyed this week's episode. Here's a question again for a free tea for next week's episode of the show. Besides the Silver Surfer, name at least one Marvel character who once served as the Herald of Galactus. Everyone who answers correctly will be entered in the drawing for a free tea on next week's episode of the show. And congratulations to David Mason from Ruston, Louisiana, who won a free tea on this week's episode. Alright, now I know I realized that I was kind of double talking throughout most of the show. I was saying stay at home, but then I was saying support your local comic book store. If you don't have a reason to go anywhere, stay at home. But if you live nearby comic book stores, then give them your business. Make sure they get your business. That's what I meant. And and then you make sure you have a mask. Make sure you wear it. Now I know masks aren't the most comfortable thing to wear, but you'll definitely benefit from it. And take this from an essential worker. And also, keep your distance from people. Try to stand about at least 6 feet away from people. And then also, when I say support comic book stores, you don't necessarily have to support your one nearby. If you don't live near a comic book store, there are several online stores throughout the country that you can go to. Midtown Comics in New York has one. Savannah Comics in Savannah, Georgia has one. Mile High Comics in Denver has one. I can go on and on and on. But just look for one. Go on Google and Google online comic book stores. Now, right now, the state of Texas, you won't be able to go on Lone Star Comics, which is the or mycomicshop.com, which is the online store for Lone Star Comics in Arlington, Texas, because due to governor's orders, all non-essential businesses are closed down. But if it's any other store anywhere in the country, go online, buy some books. And speaking of books, with that one book, I'm now 47 away from 10,000 comics. And I'm still doing this because I have to. And the shirt's ready, and only a small circle of people have seen the shirt. And I'm just going to give y'all a hint on what the shirt looks like. It's awesome! And that's all I'm saying. Yeah, but I'm still doing this because, folks need something to believe in. Now, I don't mean to toot my own horn, but, this isn't just something that I'm doing for now, and I'm going to stop once the pandemic ends. This is something that I'm going to do for as long as I'm doing the show. And it's something that I've been doing for a long time, and I'm going to continue doing it. And I thank y'all so much for the love, and I thank y'all so much for tuning in. And let's do this again next week. All right, I'm Victor Noley. I'm the Comic Hero. I'll see you next week for episode 307. So until then, be safe, be blessed, be a hero.